bells to me stands. Sit at the stillest to await the wakening, deprivation, thought derived, declared upon that presence. Light for the deaf, darkness to be illuminated and shine upon. Summarize those summer nights under the moon's glow to find direction in these nocturnal conditions. Seek compensation for new day. Gratitude with the coordinating your movement. This is a significant ether and that for the way for the world for the has been to be able to overlooking your underlying the truth and foundation of life. With no sequence to the game, but this is a sequence. Find patterns in your turmoil. Truth lies in the middle of the perception the eyes have vows that will explain to sometimes why it's hard to comprehend who's to compromise those empty promises to fill up with the remorse just can't find a way out of the course of peeking you. Light shadows easily over the looking lines and your sweat produces that you modify from sleep. Amnesty peripheral, so eyes of this to see the unbelievable, but pray to ideologies that parallels in form of your paradox. Line to your property. Portion you crave before you crave, but each your eyes and those are open to closed minds to find it. It's the execution to feel for the peace beneath the deserve what you can find a common ground for the unfamiliar bloodlines and non-topic of risk. Loose to resist the goals to find the destitution and empty up your ancestry of every talk. You had the ears to witness and those to bear with the past the message you pass the passions and pastures and passing back arms around the passion to feel the holes of ozone needs over the apologetic for the silence of this rhetoric and talked about description and interpersonal relationships and interpretation scriptures, those to live yourself. Find the haiku for the syllables of the religious pain to settle the unsure raising hand. And at first the fist to tighten up for the righteous acts and not to reactions so righteous and swipe over the tender topics, those are troubling wonders. Wrap his life jackets to go to children. Blood that warms your heart to ignite emotions. Utilizing the kinetic energy for the circulation to break the cycles. Patterns taught for culture's paradox, somewhere for those synonymous with the equinox in space. Time to let it find the truth in your numbers. Not to forget them for not for words you untie. Curse words from being tongue-tied, lack words. Mislead your heart to this, to eat the paper, the shape of the room, crumble the way for the wind, the distant presence of the current. Love breeze to take the flight and count to the numbers of the times I've been answered that map. This eventually was my calling to the knowing my purpose was no goals that the proposition to fulfill myself in the vision to come. Tune, suicide, high notes, distancing. Mother Earth, white noise, easily mistaken. Mistaken is actually taken in place. Reported for the distorted in distant ways so that the gravitation to pull vibrating ratings and vibes and drives the battery to those of oxen, herbs, capacity to capitalism. Hold to the soul, recognize the reconnected. We can find the soul reincarnated for the carnation. Love that. Listen to the reason I can find the listen to the thinking I can find the supporting the reason for the Benjamin Button. I can speak to loud to arouse and awaken the sheep. Who is asleep? Please have mercy on me.
This'll be the week. This'll be the week. Appreciate the week. Propositions, proposals. Engage beyond gauge. Agendas not to be mixed. Deprived in the riot. Asylum refused refugees. Coming home without homies. Contradictories. Contracts complete. Complications in company. Be compelled to seek. Seriously can be used as little. Lighthouse for lightweight. Impatient that door that shuts. Before them low-key piss. Bathrooms that are dirty. Worth value that was bargained for. Bar you gave up the spirits that inspired you. No sweat. Perspired deodorant. Neon oxides penalize the penal gland. Third idea, example of your example. Temptation, challenge, rising temperatures. Temperamental for psychological warfare. Can't conform, can't ever, can't forfeit purpose. Forefathers of fame for the blood. Blue for the color lines and crossfade. Lines cross life, rice, this is dim as dim fault. Blending of earthquakes, pressures provide provoke. Vocalists to sing a serenade of stoke. Surrendering and finest orders. This is right out of the outcome. This is coming out of the dark and light. The move from the head chestnut to the pupil to the pulpit. Feed the doubt. Take off and give death. Debate, defend. Land another forgiveness, and this will be the forgiveness for gratitude. Should be giving up for the forfeit, defeat for actions, complain your companies. Blinded by the lonesome and the fear, those who lost sight found way out invisible the way. Beggars to believe and not to consider. Recollection and conundrum, you'll be better before be deeply contrary. This is continue the conversation to be considered for the calm knowledge. You're wondering, don't the cynical for this is what I've seen here. Not sight by not can be the no dare to be concluded for the end of the third the allegation. This will be the party to their allegation for the alright and the alright and the almost and almost and almighty for the closing and the environment, the possibility for the easy to be obtained. Overcome obstacles to be obsolete. Hunger to eat away the obvious. Encourage those who eat right hobbies. Those who choose to meet destinations where the destined to meet the mind of marriage mirror. Mirror the marriage to inherit those to find the mortgage. Find the mortuary monthly periods that are happening. Happy to gay rights and bills taken. Stress to the streets of socials finding them all Protestants. Confessing confrontations is the confederate for the race of the basic respect to the who find the lines. Words to the debate the final charge of this devil deal with those who find a payback for the coming of the banks and the bankruptcy for your disputed with the disrupt for occupying this window with the spine. This is weak. You walk the feet for the making of a home get away for the vacation to advocate yourself with the terror. Those terror the clouds to find the terrain against those drought to drown to find the spouse of powers and shit. Agendas not to be mixed, deprived in the right. Asylum refused refugees. Coming home without homies. Contradictory. Contracts complete. Complications in company. Be compelled to seek. Seriously can be used as little. Lighthouse for lightweight. Impatient that door that shuts. Before them low-key piss. Bathrooms that are dirty. Worth value that was bargained for. Bar you gave up the spirits that inspired you. No sweat. Perspired deodorant. Neon oxides penalize the penal gland. Third idea. This will be the week. Appreciate the week. Propositions, proposals. Engage at young age. Agendas not to be mixed. Deprived in the right. Asylum refused refugees. Coming home without homies. Contradictories. Contracts complete. Complications in company. Be compelled to seek. Seriously can be used as little. Lighthouse for lightweight. Impatient that door that shuts. Before them low-key piss.
Bathrooms that are dirty, worth value that was bargained for. Bar you gave up the spirit that inspired you. No sweat, perspired deodorant. Neon oxides penalized the pineal gland. Third idea example of your example temptation to challenge rising temperatures. Temperamental to psychological warfare. Can't conform, can't ever, can't forfeit purpose. Fortify the vein for the blood. Blue for the color lines across fade. Lines cross life, rice, this is Dennis dim fault. Blending of earthquakes, pressures provide to provoke. Vocalists to sing a serenade of dope. Surrendering is in the finest order. This is right out of the outcome. This is coming out of the dark and light. The move to the adjustment to the pupil to the pulpit. Feed the doubt, take off and give debt. Debate, defend. Land another forgiveness, so this will be the forgiving for gratitude. You should be giving up for the forfeit, defeat the actions, complain your companies. Invited by the lonesome and seers, those who lost sight found way out invisible the way. Beggars and believes and I can consider. Recollections of conundrums, you'll be better before being beat the conjurer. This is continue the conversation to be considered for the conniving. You're wondering, don't the cynical for this I've seen here. Not side by not committed, no dare to be concluded for the dirty alligators. You just be departed to their allegations. The all right and the all right and the almost and almighty for the closing and the final the possibility for the easily to be obtained. Overcome obstacles to be obsolete. Hunger to eat away the obvious. Encourage those who eat right happy. Those who chew the meat and destination to where the destiny to meet the mind of marriage mirror. Mirror the marriage to inherit those to find the mortgage. Find the mortuary monthly periods that are happening. Happy the gay rights of diddle taken. Stretch to the streets of those who find the pen called Protestants. Confess the confrontations, leads the confederate for the rate to debate the correct perspective of who find the lines. Words to the debate, the line of charge, this depth to deal with those who find a payback to the coming of the banks of the bankruptcy. For your disputed for the disrupt, for occupying this one of the spine. This is weak, you off the feet for the making of her own getaway for litigation to advocate yourself with the terror. Those terrors, clouds to find the terrain against those trapped, drown the minds, pounds, powers and shit.
This is right out of the outcome. This is coming out of the dark and light. The move to the adjustment from the pupil to the pulpit. Feed the doubt. Take off and give debt. Debate, defend. Land another forgiveness. So this would be the move of giving for gratitude. Should be giving up for the forfeit. Defeat the actions and complain your companies. Invited by the lonesome and seers. Those who lost sight found way. Way out invisible the way. Beckons and believes in I can consider recollection, the conundrums you'll be better before being beat, conjurer. This is continue the conversation to make you considered. For the time not, then you'll wonder where you're going with this cynical publicity drive scenes here. Not sideline, nah, you're getting no dare to be concluded with the engine of purity. The alligators will just be the parties. There are allegations for the all-right and the all-right and the almost and almost. And all my reason to post in the bottom of the possibility of using it to be obtained. Overcome obstacles to be obsolete. Hunger to eat away the obvious, encourage those who eat right, have beef. Those who chew the meat and destination to where the meat to mind the marriage mirror the marriage, and just to inherit those to find the mortgage, find the mortuary monthly periods and that are happening. Happy to gay rights and diddles taken.
Classical, radically inclined to find peace of mind, reincarnated to be the soil, reincarnation find those to find carbon emissions. These are the electronically reconditioned weather or conditions rendered invented. Those are friend invited, those are vital times to those to harm, time to watch those names. These are numbers around the clock and it's 3:45. What relevance can you find for the intelligence can only be the ability to learn. These are the absolute libraries where they lie in silence, not to speak too loud. Arouse and awaken the sheep. The guest that meek shall inherit the earth. Never find notes to those footsteps. The rights is taking the left. To find the love forsaken and taking it over. The time that long will find. The future that inspired the expiration. Designed to dissolute. Conclude the expedited. Inverting and ongoing hollow. The extensive first attraction to be seen. For God to be as part of that statement announced. Constitutes the necessary information to be at least engaged to the addressing of the crowd. The interest of the mediocre principle in exchange. One's gratitude and adjustments added to conclude your consideration. Of course, this is when all fails to meet the standards. Consider distillers of the way to the awakening. Deprivation, these thoughts derived that to declared enough upon the presence of the light. Death that pinned the darkness and illuminated for this is shined upon the summer rise and those summer nights. The under the moons and the divine illuminated for the direction the nocturnal condition to seek your compensation for the new day. Gratitude, coordinated movements. Significant in another way for the world has been due being able to overlook what's underlying the truth and foundation of life. And no sequence to this game, but it's not a sequence to find the patterns. Find those to find carbon emissions. These are the electronically reconditioned weather or conditions rendered invented. Those are friend invited. Those are vital times. Those to harm, time to watch those names. These are numbers around the clock and it's 3:45. What relevance can you find for the intelligence can only be the ability to learn. These are absolute libraries where they lie in silence, not to speak too loud. Arouse and awaken the sheep. The guest that meek shall inherit the earth. Never find notes to those footsteps. The rights is taking the left. To find the love forsaken and taking it over. The time that long will find. The future that inspired the expiration. Designed to dissolute. Conclude the expedited. Inverting and ongoing hollow. The extensive first attraction to be seen. For God to be as part of that statement announced. Constitutes the necessary information to be at least engaged to the addressing of the crowd. The interest of the mediocre principle in exchange. One's gratitude and adjustments added to conclude your consideration. Of course, this is when all fails to meet the standards and distillers of the way to the awakening. Deprivation, these thoughts derived that to declared enough upon the presence of the light. Death that pinned the darkness and illuminated for this is shined upon the summer rise and those of summer nights. The under the moons and the divine illuminated for the direction the nocturnal condition to seek your compensation for the new day. Gratitude, coordinated movements. Significant in another way for the world has been due being able to overlook what's underlying the truth and foundation of life. And no sequence to this game, but it's not a sequence to find the patterns.
When all fails to me stands. Sit at the stillest to await the awakening, deprivation, thought derived, declared upon that presence. Light for the deaf, darkness to be illuminated and shine upon. Summarize those summer nights under the moon's glow to find direction in these nocturnal conditions. Seek compensation for new day. Gratitude with the coordinating your movement with. This is a significant either that the way for the world for the has been to be able to overlook your underlying the truth and foundation of life. And no sequence to the game, but this is a sequence. Find patterns in your turmoil. The truth lies in the middle of the perception the eyes have vows that will explain that sometimes why it's hard to comprehend who's to compromise those empty promises, develop with the remorse just can't find a way out of the course of peeking through light shadows easily over the looking logic, and your sweat produces that to be modified for the sleep through amnesty peripheral. So eyes of this to see the unbelievable, the prey to ideologies, the parallels in form of your paradox, the line for your propaganda. Portion and pray before you pray, but eat the eyes of those who open the closed minds to find it. The execution, the field for the peace beneath the surface, and the finding the common ground for the unfamiliar bloodlines and the untied for the wrist. Loosely resist the foes to find the destitution and ante up to your ancestral belly talking. You had the ears to witness and those to mirror the past, the message you past the pastures and pastures and passing by are regard with the patches to fill the holes of ozone. These over the apologetic for the silence and just rather authentic. Talked about description and interpersonal relationships and interpretation. Scriptures those to the living word. Find the haiku for the syllables of the field. The paraplegics pain to settle the unsure raising hand. And the first to fist to tighten up for the righteous acts and not to reactions to right to swipes. And over the tender topics, those are troubling water. Strapless life jackets to coat to chill the factor. Blood that warms the heart to ignite the emotions. Utilizing the kinetic energy for the circulation to break your cycles. Patterns taught for culture's paradox. You're somewhere for the synonymous between the equinox and space. Time's the relevant. Find the truth in your numbers. Not to forget them for. Forget.